artist, and welcome to another art lesson. Today I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about a sculptor named Alexander Calder. One reason that I really like Calder's work is because he uses a lot of shapes in his designs. And I can't wait to show you how we can make an imaginary animal based on Calder's sculptures. So the first thing I want to show you is what he was known for. So one thing that he was known for was inventing something called a mobile. Can you guys say mobile? Now, a mobile is made of shapes and it hangs from the ceiling generally. It also can move, so it's kinetic. So what kind of shapes do you see on this mobile? If you said circles or spheres, that's right. They're most likely spheres because they're three-dimensional forms. Also, I want you to notice the colors that you see in the mobile art. Now, mobiles are something that are very popular still today, but were actually invented by Alexander. One thing that Alexander also did was he started out as a toy designer. So he started out just working and inventing interesting toys for children. So I like his work because it's very playful, it's very fun, and he has that background of being a toy designer and making toys. Later, his work evolved, which means changed and developed, and his stabiles were what these big sculptures were that were placed and commissioned throughout cities all over the world. So instead of being called a mobile, it's called a stabile. Does anybody want to guess why they call it a stabile? Let's think, what's different about this sculpture and the mobile? So there are quite a few differences, but one difference is the stabiles were stable structures that didn't move. So you might notice how it's a little bit larger in volume. It still has a lot of interesting shapes. Now he started going with more curvy and organic shapes in his stabile sculptures. It might even remind you of like a certain, like an animal or something like that. So today what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a simple file folder. If you don't have, I like them because they're a little thicker. If you don't have a file folder, you could use card paper like cardstock or the thickest paper you have. Sometimes you'll find little papers like this that kind of come inside of packaging, so you could use something like that. And you'll also need a base for your sculpture. So I'm going to use a canvas board. But if you don't have a canvas board at home, you can also use this is a cereal box that we saved. You could use the cereal box as the base. These are really good for like all different kinds of art projects. So I always like to flatten them and then save them at home. Okay, so first things first, you're gonna have the part of your envelope that opens, and we're gonna cut away. Actually, I'm going to draw two curves. So let me see here. I've done this enough. Oh yeah. We're going to do a big curve here. All right. We're going to do another curvy line here. And you might just want to watch and see how this works before you draw any of your curves, so that you can make different decisions about it. So you'll need two curves, one on each side. Okay, that's good, like that. I made it too big, so I kind of made it smaller. All right, so then what you're gonna do is you're gonna cut away. Be sure to save your scraps. So you need scissors for this project. We're building here for this project. That's one cutaway. I'm gonna cut away the other part. Okay. Next, this is like, you're gonna cut away a center arc. So if you think back to maybe some of the other sculptures that you've made, I'm gonna do a nice curved line here, okay? Right in the middle. And it doesn't have to be this high. It could be lower. It could be like less of an arc, okay? If one of the parts got too thin, I'm gonna make it a little bit thicker, and then I'll show you what I'm doing. So here we go. I'm gonna cut this away as well. Now I want you to start to kind of get an idea of how your imaginary animal is gonna be. It's an abstract animal sculpture, essentially. And you might notice now, so remember, this is the fold, all right? All right, so you might notice how it's starting to look like a stabile sculpture and an animal's body and an animal's legs. So we're going to use some hand building techniques here. We are going to end up making some tabs. And by tab, I mean like a little fold. So normally when I'm gluing something, I need something to glue to. So I kind of folded up some little feet here. And the feet, maybe I can angle my thing down so you can see the table a little bit better. The feet are here to help me later when I want my animal to stand up, right? I'm not sure what animal I'm gonna do yet. Does anybody have any ideas for me? Or for your own animal? What animal would you like to do? I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do something inspired by an animal with long ears, all right? So this piece, so all your scraps that were cut away will become part of your stabile sculpture. From the head, possibly, to ears, to a tail, if your animal has a tail. So what I want you to do is I want you to sketch out some different shapes and feel free to cut away anything that you're not using to create your piece. I wanted to make my animal's head a little bit more round. And then to fit the head on, I'm gonna have to make a slit at the bottom. And I'm gonna stick the head on. There we go. Do you guys see how I did that? Let's see. There we go. Now it's kind of like, I wonder if I cut it open a little tiny bit more, like a tiny skinny triangle, if it kind of helps. Yeah. Here we go. So that's gonna be the head. All right, I'm gonna work a little bit more on my animal, adding different parts to it. And then in just a minute, I'm gonna show you how it looks. All right, so I took a minute and I really thought about size, and I think this is a nice big size if you want a large sculpture, but I made another one that is basically half. So they could be an animal family, right? Or you could just do one miniature stabile, which that's the size I'm liking more. So I'll show you how I did that. I first just cut in half the folder. You might want to ask an adult to help you do that, or to figure out where half is, you would have to fold it in half first. Okay, so you would fold it, cut on the line, and then you would make one that's basically half the size. I repeated the same steps, right? So now I'm going to be working on attaching some different things. The first thing is the head and the ears that I prepared. This one is an animal that lives in the jungle or in the savannah, actually, in Africa. Also lives in the jungle or the forest in India. So it's going to be an abstract elephant stabile. So the next thing I want to do before I put it together, I want to paint mine. You can also use crayons or colorful markers. I want to think back to our conversation about the colors that we saw in the mobile. So in the mobile that I showed you, let's look at the stabile. It's mostly like this bright orangey red. Now, Alexander was really interested in the most basic things and simplicity. So when he designed and he painted things, you'll see 3 colors very frequently. And they're the 3 most basic, simple colors in art. I believe you guys all know the colors that it takes to mix the other colors. So if anybody knows what that's called, go ahead and say the word for the most basic colors in art. Yes, if you said primary, that's right. So you'll notice that the stabile sculptures are red, blue, and yellow, often black or white. So I'm gonna do my elephant with that in mind. All right, so you're gonna choose what color you wanna use. And I like to paint flat. So you're gonna see me with my overhead camera in just a minute. I'm gonna show you how you can paint your stabile and then you can assemble it. Also, don't forget your animal's tail if you would like to add it and make it look kind of cool. Okay, so for the painting portion of this, you can use any neutrals, any primary colors that you like. You can paint things solid, and then you can paint them with stripes to make your imaginary animal. artist. I am back and I wanted to show you my finished stabile sculpture inspired by a wonderful elephant. It may look like an elephant to you, but it may also remind you of another animal. I went ahead and painted the sculpture base, which is this dark green part, so that it looked a little bit more sculptural. And I was thinking of a sculpture garden in Seattle where I once saw one of Alexander Calder's stabile sculptures. It's called Olympic Sculpture Park. So you can think of a name for your own sculpture when you finish. And it might be, that name might be inspired by the animal that you imagined. And I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. I'm going to call my sculpture Colossal because elephants are really huge and colossal. The sculpture is kind of interesting because in real sculpture parks, people can actually walk around and through the sculpture. So I'm imagining that a child or a person could actually walk through and interact with the sculpture. Can't wait to see what you guys come up with.